Good Easter morning. This is Micah Mitchell with Madison County weather updates and crystal clear weather. And I'm bringing you the Easter Sunday update on the True View exterior severe weather outlook because we do have severe possible later today or more likely this evening, and then again Monday and even into Tuesday. So let's take a look at how things look right now. The Storm Prediction Center has us in most of Madison County in a slight risk for severe today. Really, I would consider the whole county in it. But anyway, we're on the border between a slight and marginal risk for severe. The greatest severe threat does appear to be south of I-70. However, we do need to be aware that there's some possibility for some larger hail later on this evening. We'll take a look here at what the SPC has. So this is again today's outlook. Then as we take a look at the tornado outlook, again it keeps the tornado threat really south of about I-74, kind of west of I-74. So there's minimal tornado threat here. I do agree with that assessment. The way things are going to be shaping up, hail is going to be our bigger threat, and as well as damaging winds. Here's a severe wind outlook. Again, it cuts right through Madison County and over by Muncie, kind of a Lafayette to Muncie line. So we do need to be on the lookout for some possible damaging winds. That would possibly be as storm cells collapse and create microbursts. I think would be our biggest chance for having a damaging wind event. Severe hail outlook is what gets into Madison County pretty well, with a 15 to 29% chance of severe hail. This, I think, maybe could even be pulled just a touch farther north, but again, the highest risk is basically south of the Lafayette to Muncie line. So maybe Lafayette to Elwood to Muncie line, kind of something like that. So that's for today, and I'll go over timing here shortly. But those are the threats for today. And what we've got is this boundary that's just sitting across the area, and it's wavering north and south. And so as it shifts north and south, so do the threats. So here's the severe outlook for tomorrow. If you remember in yesterday's video, I told you I thought the enhanced risk would be pulled across southern Illinois, possibly into southwestern Indiana, and that's exactly what was done. The slight risk then moves south of about I-70. Basically, if you just take an east-west line straight through Indianapolis, the slight risk would be to the south of Indianapolis. We will be in a marginal risk for severe tomorrow, as the majority of that boundary kind of shifts south, and then later in the day, tomorrow evening into early Tuesday, that boundary then begins to move back north as a low pressure system also moves toward us. So our severe risk will elevate again on Tuesday. And again, looking here, the tornado risk would be predominantly south of Indianapolis, but especially down in southwestern Indiana. The severe wind risk, we would be Madison County being a 5 to 14% risk. I think it'd probably be closer to the 5%. But then we take a look at the severe hail, also 5 to 14%. This, I think, would be a little more in the upper, maybe in the 10 to 15% range for hail, depending on which direction that boundary is moving. If that boundary is moving toward the south, our hail risk is lower. If that boundary is moving toward the north, then our hail risk elevates. So that's the outlook for Monday. So then as we get into Tuesday, then we go back into a slight risk for severe. And at this, I think the tornado risk may come a little farther to the north. As you can see, the western part of this is to the south, kind of a southwest to northeast angle. Then it kind of curves over and heads to the east. This is where, and you can kind of see the little hook back in here. The low pressure system is going to track somewhat across here, and right out in front of that low pressure system, where we have the warm front and the cold front meeting up with the low pressure, you can get some extra spin. So I do think our tornado risk on Tuesday will be low, but it will not be non-existent. I do agree with where this enhanced risk is here. If anything, I think this could possibly expand farther to the east, but that's not what we're really forecasting for. So timing is going to be everything. They've not issued the tornado wind and hail risk yet for them, but again, I think all modes would be on the table on Tuesday, and whereas the next 2 days, large hail and damaging winds will be the primary threats. So I'll take a look at some timing of some things real quick, and then I'll let you get back to your Easter. So here we're looking at the NAM 3K. I'll say there is no model output that I really am a big fan of. So all I'm really going to show this to you for is just visual to kind of help with some timing and kind of give a little visual of what we could be looking at. So this is around 4 p.m. today. And then as we advance, you can see the most of the activity remains out over Illinois until we start getting into the evening. This is around 8 p.m. I do think we could see some isolated storms pop up late this afternoon or early this evening. Those we would need to be very aware of if they do occur. But again, we've got this boundary sitting around, and low pressures and disturbances are just going to track along it. So here's 8, 9, 10, 11, and midnight. And you can see just these kind of little popcorn yellow cells. I think there's going to be more of these than what data is indicating. Do think the NAM 3K is probably too far north. So what I think we're going to be watching again across central and southern Indiana for the possibility of severe from late, I would say very earliest onset would be late this afternoon, early evening, but in a more widespread manner, possibly very late in the evening into the overnight hours. And again, I think it's going to be more central Indiana and southern Indiana focused on the severe. Up here in northern Indiana, you may be looking at more in the way of heavier rain. So then as we go through the overnight hours, that disturbance pushes through, and there's just some isolated stuff overnight. I kind of agree with that. And as we get into, this is around 6 p.m. tomorrow, then we begin to see the same kind of thing, kind of pop up cells and some heavier rain that's up to the north. And then as we advance through, you can see the kind of the west to east track that this takes. So wherever this sets up, there's going to be the potential for heavy rain, especially tomorrow evening into Tuesday. And again, it's nobody knows for sure where this boundary is going to decide to set. They kind of wave north and south, and model data can try to tell you, but we don't know for sure. But wherever this sets up, there's going to be the potential for some heavy rain. And then you can see as that begins to lift as we're getting in, this is around midnight as we cross over Monday into Tuesday. You can see the warm front across here. You can see the cold front around here. You can kind of see this little curve right here that we were looking at on the SBC outlook. As that begins to train across, we'll be getting into Tuesday afternoon. We could be looking at some stronger clusters of storms racing across there. Here's another low pressure coming across. And then as we get into the evening, you can see the boundary then it begins to attempt to sink south again. But there's yet another low pressure, the final low pressure coming out across Missouri. And that behind it will begin to pump in some colder air. So until that gets through here, this is by 9 p.m. Tuesday, and the NAM 3K is only going to go so far. But we can see this other low pressure kind of come across. Now it's keeping there's a lot more, the dynamics changed where most of the precipitation is going to want to hang out to the north of the low pressure. And then the colder air, then you can see the whole boundary then begins to sink as the colder air finally begins to push its way in here and push against that low, push it south. You can see one more potential, this is 4 p.m. on Tuesday. You can see one more potential cluster of storms. And again, timing on Tuesday is going to be everything. If that low pressure is back here, then we could be under the gun with this last line of severe. If it's farther to the south, the temperatures could start falling sooner. So again, we just don't know. So we're just going to have to play this by ear as it gets closer. And then as we go on through what's left of the NAM 3K run, we can see snow developing up here in northern Indiana. I personally think this is overdone, but just know it's possible Tuesday night into Wednesday, we maybe could see some snowflakes. Some of the model data, the European, have been a little more aggressive with bringing snow farther to the south. So we'll see how that all plays out. That's getting too far out. In the meantime, our main concern is going to be severe over the next, really, again, this evening, tomorrow afternoon and evening, and then Tuesday morning and Tuesday afternoon. Last thing we'll take a look at is going to be the total rainfall, just to give you an idea of what we may be looking at. Just to be consistent, first we'll take a look at the NAM 3K outlook. This would be again through Tuesday evening, and it's putting down widespread 2 to 3 inches of rain. It's got Muncie at 1.9, Indianapolis 2.7. The good thing about this is it's not going to all fall in a short period of time. So flooding risk is going to be relatively low unless you get under a particular cell that decides to unload. And it is possible that some isolated cells could have a lot of water available to them. And so you could end up under a localized cell that puts a bunch of rain down in a very short period. But for the vast majority of us, it's going to fall over the course of 3 days. So that minimizes the flooding risk, but there's still quite a bit of rain, and things are going to get pretty soggy, and there will be standing water, especially in low-lying areas, including low-lying roads. And then finally, looking at the National Weather Service blend of models, it paints a pretty widespread. Again, this is a blend of a bunch of different models, so it's going to be a little more widespread. But this is through Thursday. 7 a.m. Thursday, it's putting down about 3 inches of rain across much of central and north central Indiana. Again, the higher rainfall amounts are going to be north of the boundary. The severe threats are going to be along and south of the boundary. So, where that boundary sets up, it's going to be everything. So we're just going to have to watch that, see how things play out. We'll deal with whatever may be coming in midweek. We'll deal with that once we get past this setup that we've got going on right now. So in the meantime, everybody have a happy Easter. I will update you if any kind of severe pops up. This is Michael Mitchell with Madison County Weather Updates, and this has been a TrueView Exterior Severe Weather Outlook. Thank you.